Beggar's daughter speaks fluent German in front of Businesswoman, and it changes her life. Jennifer Parker was in Union Square, in downtown New York City, finishing a business call when a child's voice made her stop mid-sentence. The little girl, sitting on the ground next to a bearded man, had just responded in perfect German to what she'd been saying on the phone. Ich verstehe, dass Sie sich Sorgen machen, said the child, looking directly at Jennifer. But maybe your meeting isn't as important as you think. Jennifer nearly dropped her phone. That pronunciation was flawless, better than many German executives she did business with. The girl couldn't have been more than 10 years old, wearing worn-out clothes and a wool hat that had seen better days. Sorry, Dr. Thompson, I'll call you back, Jennifer said, quickly hanging up. She approached the child, ignoring the wary look from the man beside her. How do you know German? She asked, still in shock. Dad, let's go, murmured the man, trying to stand up. He had a thick beard and tired eyes that seemed to carry many stories. Wait, sir, Jennifer said, reaching out. My name is Jennifer Parker. I'm a businesswoman and I need to understand how this girl speaks German like that. The child smiled, revealing small white teeth. I listen to people here in the square. Lots of German tourists come to visit St. Patrick's Cathedral, so I just picked it up, she explained simply. But you didn't just speak it. You understood the exact context of my business conversation, Jennifer insisted. That's not something you learn just by listening. The man gripped the girl's arm firmly. Come on, Emily, we can't stay here. Why not? Jennifer pressed. Sir, what's your name? David, he replied reluctantly. And now we have to go. Jennifer looked around. The square was bustling as always, with people coming and going from the subway, street vendors selling their goods, and tourists taking pictures of the cathedral. But her attention was completely fixed on this unlikely pair. Emily, do you speak other languages? Jennifer asked, crouching to the girl's level. She speaks English very well too, David said, unable to hide a hint of pride in his voice. And French. French? Jennifer's eyes widened. Emily, can you say something to me in French? Bien sûr, madame. Je peux vous parler de la beauté de cette cathédrale et de comment les gens passent devant nous sans vraiment nous voir. Emily replied fluently. Jennifer felt a shiver. The girl had said she could talk about the beauty of the cathedral and how people walked past them without really seeing them. It was a deep, melancholy observation coming from a child. My God, Jennifer whispered. Mr. David, we need to talk. We have nothing to talk about, he said, standing and pulling Emily along. Come on, sweetheart. Dad, she seems nice, Emily said, resisting slightly. And she understands when I speak German. Jennifer noticed the girl's hesitation and seized the moment. Emily, would you like to go to a real school? Learn more languages? The child's eyes lit up, but David pulled her harder. Don't fill our heads with impossible dreams, he said sharply. Let's go, Emily, now. Jennifer watched them walk away across the square and knew she couldn't let this go. She ran after them. Mr. David, please, she called. Just give me 5 minutes. He stopped and turned, irritated. Mom, we don't need your pity. We're fine the way we are. It's not pity, Jennifer said, breathless. It's amazement. This girl has an extraordinary gift. She should be in school developing it. And you think I don't know that? David snapped. You think I like seeing my daughter out here on the street? The pain in his voice made Jennifer step back slightly. She looked at Emily, who was watching the argument with intelligent, sad eyes. I'm sorry, said Jennifer more softly. I didn't mean to offend. It's just, I've never seen anything like it. A child with that kind of language knowledge, that perfect pronunciation. David sighed heavily. You don't understand anything about our lives. Then explain it to me, said Jennifer. Help me understand. Emily tugged at her father's pant leg. Dad, she wants to help. No one really wants to help, Emily. People just want to feel better about themselves. Jennifer felt the criticism like a slap in the face, but she recognized he might be right. How many times had she given spare change just to ease her own conscience? Look, David, I run an international consulting firm. I work with clients from all over. I know talent when I see it, she said, pulling a card from her purse. Here's my card. If you change your mind, call me. David took the card, glanced at it, and stuffed it in his pocket. "Emily, would you like me to come back here tomorrow?" Jennifer asked the girl directly. "I would," Emily replied in perfect English. "I would like that very much." Jennifer smiled despite the tension. "Then I'll see you tomorrow," she answered, also in English. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps those of us just starting out. Now continuing. The next day, Jennifer cancelled 2 important meetings and returned to Union Square. She found David and Emily in the same spot, as if they'd never left. "You came back," she said, approaching. "We're always here," Emily explained. "People going to work in the morning are more generous." Jennifer noticed the girl spoke with impressive maturity for her age. There was something in how she observed people, as if she understood human nature better than many adults. "David, may I sit with you for a few minutes?" He shrugged, but Emily made space beside her on the ground. "Emily, tell me how you learned German," Jennifer said as she settled in. "There was a German man who came here every day about 2 years ago. He was here for work, I think. Always sat on that bench over there." Emily pointed to a nearby bench. "He'd talk on the phone in German and I'd listen. Then one day he noticed me paying attention and started teaching me some words." "And he taught you for 2 years?" "No," David said gruffly. "He disappeared after a few months, but Emily kept studying on her own." "On her own? How?" "I go to the public library when it's open," Emily explained. "They have some language books there, and I listen to the tourists here in the square. Then I piece the words together and try to understand how it works." Jennifer was amazed. The child had developed her own learning method just through observation and determination. "What about French and English?" "I learned English first, actually. There are lots of movies on TV with subtitles. And French..." Emily glanced at David, who made a strange face. "French I learned somewhere else." Jennifer sensed the tension between father and daughter. "Where else?" "It doesn't matter," David said quickly. "That was a long time ago." The businesswoman decided not to press the issue for now. There was clearly something they didn't want to share. "Emily, would you like to have real lessons? With teachers?" "Of course," the girl replied, her eyes shining. "But that costs a lot of money." "What if I arranged a scholarship for you?" David stood abruptly. "We already said we don't need your help." "Why are you so afraid of accepting help?" Jennifer asked, also standing. "Because I know people like you. You help when it's convenient, when it makes you feel superior. And then, when you get tired of playing around, you disappear and leave us worse off than before." The anger in David's voice was real, but Jennifer sensed there was more pain than anger there. "Have you been through this before?" "That's none of your business." Emily stood up and took both their hands. "Stop fighting. Dad, Mrs. Parker doesn't seem bad, and she speaks German just like that man who taught me." Jennifer crouched down again to meet Emily's eye level. "You're right. Your dad is right to be careful. He wants to protect you. But I promise you one thing. If you give me a chance, I won't give up on you." David looked into her eyes as if trying to read her soul. "Everyone gives up, Mrs. Parker. Everyone. I won't give up." There was a long silence. Jennifer could hear the sounds of the city around them. Cars passing, people talking, the bells of St. Patrick's Cathedral marking the hour. But her attention was fixed on that broken man and the girl who seemed to carry the wisdom of the world in her eyes. "What exactly are you proposing?" David finally asked. "First, a place for you to stay, temporary, until we can find something permanent for you. Second, a school for Emily. Third, a job for you." "A job?" David laughed bitterly. "You don't even know what I can do." "Then tell me." David hesitated, glancing at Emily. "I was a university linguistics professor." Jennifer's eyes widened. That explained a lot. "Where did you teach?" "At Columbia University, Department of Classical and Modern Languages." "What happened?" David looked away toward the bustle of Union Square. "Life happened." Jennifer understood he didn't want to share details in front of his daughter. "That's okay, we can talk about it later. The important thing is you're qualified to work in your field again." No one will hire me. Why not? Because... He stopped and looked at Emily again. It's complicated. The girl sensed the tension and changed the subject. Mrs. Parker, do you want me to speak German for you? I can recite a poem. You know German poems? Several. Goethe, Schiller, Heine. Jennifer nearly stumbled back. Those were classic German poets many college students struggled to understand. How do you know these poets? The German man who taught me loved poetry. He said poetry is the soul of a language. Recite one for me. Emily closed her eyes and began with perfect pronunciation. Über allen Gipfeln ist Ruh, in allen Wipfeln spürest du's kaum einen Hauch. Die Vögelein schweigen im Walde. Warte nur, baldes ruhest du auch. Jennifer got chills. It was one of Goethe's most famous poems, and Emily had recited it like a native speaker. My God, Emily, that was perfect. You understood? The girl asked. I did. Over all the peaks is peace. In all the treetops you feel barely a breeze. The little birds fall silent in the woods. Just wait. Soon, you too will rest. Very good, Emily clapped. The German man said this poem is about finding peace after much suffering. Jennifer looked at David, who was watching his daughter with a mix of pride and sadness. David, I need to know. Did you teach her German? No, I know German, but it was Mr. Weber who really taught her. I only helped with some questions after he left. Mr. Weber? The German man I told you about, Emily explained. He was very kind, said I had a special talent for languages. Jennifer realized there was much more to this story than she'd imagined. Where do you live? Around, David said evasively. Around where, exactly? There's a shelter downtown. When there's space, we stay there. When there isn't, we manage. Jennifer's heart ached. Imagining that brilliant child sleeping on the streets was unbearable. What if I offered a room in my house, temporarily? No, said David immediately. Why not? Because I don't want my daughter to get used to things she can't have forever. Who said it would be temporary? David looked at her suspiciously. Everything is temporary, Mrs. Jennifer, especially people's kindness. Jennifer understood that David had been deeply hurt in the past. There was a bitterness in him that came from great suffering. Give me a week, she said. 1 week to prove I'm serious. A week for what? To arrange everything. Permanent housing, a school for Emily, a job for you. If I don't manage it in a week, you can just forget everything I've said. David and Emily exchanged glances. And if you do, asked the girl, then we'll see if you want to accept the help. Dad? Emily looked at David with pleading eyes. He sighed heavily. 1 week, but I don't want false hopes, Emily. If Mrs. Jennifer can't deliver what she's promising, we go on with our lives as always. Understood, said Jennifer, extending her hand to him. Deal. David reluctantly shook her hand. Deal. Jennifer left Union Square with her heart racing. She had just made a promise she wasn't sure she could keep, but something about that girl had touched her deeply. Maybe it was the extraordinary talent, maybe the maturity beyond her years, or maybe it was simply the way Emily looked at the world with hope, despite all the hardships. For the rest of the week, Jennifer worked tirelessly. First, she called a friend who ran a prestigious private school in New York City. Amanda, I need a very special favor, she said over the phone. Of course, Jennifer. What do you need? A full scholarship for a very special 10-year-old girl. Jennifer, you know our waiting list for scholarships is huge. This girl speaks German, English, and French fluently, self-taught. There was silence on the other end. You're joking. I'm serious. She recites Goethe in German with perfect pronunciation. Bring her here tomorrow. I want to meet her. The next step was more complicated. Jennifer needed to find work for David, but without knowing exactly what had happened in his past, it was hard to help. She decided to investigate discreetly. She called a friend who worked at Columbia University. Michael, do you know a linguistics professor named David? He would have worked in the Department of Classical and Modern Languages. David who? There are many Davids here. I don't know the last name. He has a 10-year-old daughter named Emily. Oh, you're talking about David Sullivan, exclaimed Michael. Wow, I haven't heard about him in years. He was one of the best professors we ever had here. What happened to him? It's a complicated story, Jennifer. Why do you want to know? To help him. He's going through a rough time. Michael sighed. David had some personal issues about 3 years ago. His ex-wife sued him, accusing him of serious things. Nothing was proven, but you know how academia is. Any scandal, and the person becomes persona non grata. What kind of accusations? She claimed he wasn't a fit father, that he exposed his daughter to dangerous situations. There was a nasty custody battle. And what happened? David lost custody. After that, he just disappeared. No one knows what happened to him. Jennifer grew thoughtful. If David had lost legal custody of Emily, how was she with him? Michael, this was 3 years ago. More or less. Why? Nothing. Thanks for the information. Jennifer hung up with more questions than answers. Something didn't add up in this whole story. The next day, she went to meet David and Emily at Union Square to take them to the school where Amanda worked. "Shall we go see the school?" she asked Emily. "Can we really?" The girl jumped with joy. "Of course, your friend Amanda wants to talk to you." On the way to the school, Jennifer noticed how Emily looked at everything with curiosity and intelligence. The girl asked questions about the buildings, the people, the traffic. It was as if she wanted to understand how the city worked. "Emily, can I ask you a personal question?" "Sure." "Have you always lived with your father?" Emily looked at David, who was walking silently beside them. "Not always," she said softly. "I used to live with Mommy before." "And where is your mother now?" Emily stopped speaking and looked at David again. "Dad, can I tell her?" "You can say whatever you want, sweetheart." "Mommy went away. She said she'd come back, but it's been a long time." Jennifer sensed there was much more to this story than just a trip. "Do you miss her?" "I do," Emily replied simply. "But Daddy takes good care of me." David said nothing, but Jennifer saw his eyes fill with tears. They arrived at the school, an imposing building in the Georgetown neighborhood. Amanda greeted them personally. "So you're the famous Emily," she said, crouching down to the girl's level. "Jennifer told me you speak several languages." "I do," Emily answered shyly in the unfamiliar setting. "How about you show me?" Emily glanced at Jennifer and David, who gave her encouraging nods. "Guten Tag, mein Name ist Emily. Ich bin 10 Jahre alt und ich lerne gerne Sprachen," she said confidently. Amanda's eyes widened. "Perfect. And in English?" "Hello, my name is Emily. I love learning languages because they help me understand different people and cultures." "And French?" "Bonjour, je m'appelle Emily. J'aimerais beaucoup étudier dans votre école pour apprendre encore plus." Amanda stood up slowly, clearly impressed. "Jennifer, this is extraordinary. In 20 years of working in education, I've never seen anything like it." "So? Of course we have a spot for her. In fact, I'll speak with our language teachers. I think Emily might even help other children." Emily beamed with joy. David, however, seemed torn between happiness and worry. "Is something wrong, David?" Jennifer asked. "It's just so much good happening all at once. I'm afraid I'll wake up and find out it's a dream." Amanda looked at him with compassion. "Mr. Sullivan, may I speak with you privately?" They stepped aside, leaving Jennifer and Emily alone. "Do you like the school?" Jennifer asked. "It's beautiful," Emily exclaimed. "There's a library, a lab, a sports field. I never imagined I'd study in a place like this." "You deserve this and much more, Emily." The girl looked at Jennifer seriously. "Mrs. Parker, can I tell you a secret?" "Of course." "I know my dad is worried. He thinks good things don't last for people like us." "And what do you think?" "I think he's scared because he's been hurt before. But I have hope. I've learned that with languages I can talk to people all over the world. It makes me feel like the world is bigger than our problems." Jennifer was moved by the child's wisdom. "You're very special, Emily. My dad is the special one. He takes care of me even when he's sad. Sometimes I hear him crying at night, but in the morning he always smiles for me. Jennifer's heart ached. There was so much love and pain in this unlikely family. David and Amanda returned from their private conversation. "Everything all right?" Jennifer asked. "Everything's fine," Amanda replied. "Emily can start on Monday. I'll place her in a special class where she can develop all her talents." "Really?" Emily jumped with excitement. "Really?" Amanda confirmed, smiling. On the way back, Jennifer brought up the next topic. "David, now we need to figure out the work situation for you." "Jennifer, before that, I need to tell you something." His tone made Jennifer stop walking. "What is it?" David looked at Emily, who was a few steps ahead, distracted by the store windows. "I don't have legal custody of her." "What do you mean?" "Emily's mother took custody away from me 3 years ago. Technically, I committed a kidnapping." Jennifer felt the ground vanish beneath her feet. "David, are you telling me that—" "I'm saying that if anyone finds out, they'll arrest me and take Emily away." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps those of us just starting out. Now, back to the story. Jennifer stayed silent for several minutes, processing what she'd just heard. When she finally spoke, her voice trembled. "Why did you do it?" David glanced at Emily, who kept walking ahead, oblivious to the adults' conversation. "Because Jessica, my ex-wife, wasn't taking care of her. She started using drugs, left Emily alone for days. When I tried to take legal action, she accused me of things I never did." "What kind of things?" "She said I was violent, that I hit her and Emily. None of it was true, but you know how it is. Men are always seen as the villains in these situations." Jennifer was torn between believing him and worrying about the legal mess. "And where is Emily's mother now?" "I don't know. After I took Emily, Jessica disappeared. I heard she was admitted to a rehab clinic, but that was over a year ago." "David, do you understand how serious this is? If they find out—" "I know," he said, his voice breaking. "That's why we live on the streets. I can't do anything official, can't get government help, can't even rent an apartment. Any document I sign could give me away." Jennifer finally understood why David had resisted her help for so long. He wasn't just protecting his pride, he was protecting his freedom and his daughter. "But how do you survive? How do you get food, clothes for her?" "I take odd jobs, freelance translations when I can. Some people at Union Square know me and pass me small jobs. Emily doesn't know any of this, obviously." "She doesn't suspect?" "She thinks her mother is traveling and that we're going through temporary financial trouble. I tell her things will get better soon." Jennifer looked at Emily, who had stopped in front of a bookstore, fascinated by the display. "David, you can't keep living like this, and she can't grow up on the streets." "You think I don't know that?" he snapped, keeping his voice low so Emily wouldn't hear. "You think it's easy seeing her sleep on the ground, shivering from the cold, missing out on a normal life? Then let's find a legal solution." "There is no legal solution. I committed a crime. But you did it to protect your daughter. Try explaining that to a judge." Jennifer grew thoughtful. There were family law attorneys who might help, but it was risky. "David, do you trust me?" "Why do you ask?" "Because I'm going to help you, but I need you to trust me completely. No more hiding anything." David held her gaze for a long time. "If I trust you, and this goes wrong, I lose Emily forever. And if you don't trust me, you'll keep living on the streets until someone figures out who you are. Which do you think will happen first?" It was painful logic, but true. David knew he couldn't keep this up forever. "All right," he finally said. "I trust you. But if anything happens to Emily because of this—" "Nothing will happen to her," Jennifer promised. "I'll protect both of you." Emily came running back to them. "Did you see? They have books in German at that bookstore," she said excitedly. "That's great, sweetheart," said David, forcing a smile. "Dad, are you okay? You look worried." "I'm just thinking about how our lives are going to change," he replied honestly. "It'll be for the better, right?" Emily asked with hopeful eyes. "Yes, dear," said Jennifer, crouching down to her level. "Everything will be fine." That night, Jennifer barely slept. She spent hours researching online about similar cases, family rights, specialized lawyers. The more she looked into it, the more complicated the situation seemed. The next day, she decided to reach out to a lawyer friend, Dr. Richard Miller, whom she had met years ago at corporate events. "Richard, I need your help with a very delicate case," she said in his office. "Of course, Jennifer. What's this about?" She told him the whole story, from the encounter at Union Square to David's revelation. Dr. Richard listened quietly, taking notes. "It's definitely a complicated situation," he said when she finished. "Technically, it's considered abduction of a minor, but there are important mitigating factors." "What kind of factors?" "If we can prove the mother was truly neglecting the child, and if she never filed a complaint or actively pursued the case, we could argue abandonment on her part." "Would that help?" "It could turn things around, especially if we can show the child is being well cared for and has a strong emotional bond with the father." Jennifer felt a flicker of hope. "What do you need to start working on the case?" "First, I need to speak with David in person. Second, I need all the documents from the original case. Third, I need to locate the child's mother. What if she doesn't want to be found? Then the situation becomes easier for you. Parental abandonment is a strong argument for reversing custody." Jennifer left Dr. Richard's office with a plan. Now she had to convince David to trust the legal process. When she arrived at Union Square, she found David and Emily in their usual spot. The girl was reading a book Jennifer didn't recognize. "What book is that, Emily?" "It's a French grammar book I found at a used bookstore," she replied proudly. "The owner gave it to me because he said I was the first kid he'd ever seen interested in grammar." Jennifer smiled. Even on the streets, Emily kept seeking knowledge. "David, can we talk?" she asked, signaling with her eyes that she wanted to speak privately. They stepped away, leaving Emily engrossed in her book. "I spoke to a lawyer friend of mine. He thinks we have a real chance to sort out your situation." David shook his head. "Jennifer, I don't have money for a lawyer." "Don't worry about that. I'll cover the costs." "I can't accept that." "David, stop being stubborn. You have a brilliant daughter who deserves a decent life. If you won't accept help for yourself, do it for her." David looked at Emily, who was completely absorbed in her reading. "What exactly does this lawyer propose?" Jennifer explained Dr. Richard's plan. David listened silently, weighing the pros and cons. "And if it goes wrong, what if they arrest me and take Emily away? Then at least you try to give her a better life. David, the way things are now, you have no future. Sooner or later, someone will find out." "I know," he said heavily. "It's just hard to bet everything on one move. Sometimes it's the only choice we have." David stayed silent for a long time, watching Emily. "All right," he said finally. "Let's try." "Are you sure?" "Yes. But if anything happens to her, I'll never forgive you." "Nothing will happen," Jennifer promised again. When they approached Emily, she looked up from her book. "Dad, did you know that in French there's a verb tense that doesn't exist in English? It's called the past subjunctive." "I didn't know that, sweetheart," said David, smiling tenderly. "That's very interesting. The French language is more complex than English in some ways, but simpler in others." Jennifer watched the interaction between father and daughter with emotion. There was so much love there, so much mutual care, that it was impossible to imagine anything wrong with it. "Emily, you start at your new school on Monday," said Jennifer. "I know. I can't wait. Do you think they have German classes?" "We'll find out. I'm sure they'll be impressed with how much you already know." "Dad, do you think I'll do well?" "I'm sure you will, sweetheart. You're the smartest person I know." Emily smiled and went back to her book. Jennifer took the opportunity to speak quietly with David. "Tomorrow afternoon, we're going to Dr. Richard's office. You need to tell him the whole story." "What about Emily?" "You can bring her. Dr. Richard needs to meet her too." "Jennifer?" "Yes?" "Thank you. Even if everything goes wrong, thank you for trying." Jennifer felt her eyes fill with tears. "It's going to be okay, David. It will." The next day, Jennifer, David, and Emily went to Dr. Richard's office. The lawyer was visibly impressed by the girl's intelligence and manners. "Emily, do you like living with your dad?" he asked. "I love it. He takes really good care of me." "And do you have any memories of your mother?" Emily grew thoughtful. "A few. She was pretty, but she was always sad. And sometimes she slept a lot and didn't play with me." Dr. Richard exchanged a meaningful look with Jennifer. This supported David's version of his ex-wife's struggles. "Emily, can you wait outside for a few minutes? We need to talk to your dad about grown-up things." "Of course," she said, pulling a book from her bag. "I'll read out here." When they were alone, Dr. Richard got straight to the point. "David, I need you to tell me everything, from the beginning. Don't leave out any details." David took a deep breath and began his story. "I met Jessica in college. She was a literature student and I was a professor. We waited until she graduated to start dating. We got married 2 years later, and Emily was born soon after." "What was the marriage like?" "Normal at first. Jessica was a good mother. I worked a lot at the university. But after a few years, she started to change." "Change how?" "She became depressed, distant, started going out a lot at night, coming home late. I thought it was just a phase." "When did you find out about the drugs?" "About 4 years ago. I came home and found Emily alone, hungry, crying. Jessica had left the day before and hadn't come back. When she finally did, she was clearly under the influence of something." Dr. Richard took notes as David spoke. "What did you do?" "I tried to talk to her, offered to help her get treatment, but she denied having a problem, said I was imagining things." "And when did things get worse?" "When Emily started being late to school because Jessica wouldn't wake up to take her. One day the school called because Emily had fainted from hunger. Jessica had forgotten to give her breakfast for 3 days in a row." Jennifer felt her stomach twist. "Was that when you decided to file for divorce?" "Yes, and I also filed for custody of Emily. That's when Jessica turned things against me." "How?" "She accused me of domestic violence, said I hit her and Emily, made up all kinds of stories." "Do you have any way to prove that wasn't true?" "I have some things. Medical reports showing Emily never had any injuries, statements from neighbors. But at the time, the judge believed Jessica more." "And why do you think that happened?" David hesitated. "Because she hired a very expensive lawyer. And I think she might have offered something to people to lie in her favor." "What kind of something?" "Money, sex. I don't know. Suddenly, witnesses appeared who claimed they saw me being aggressive." Dr. Richard stopped writing. "David, these are very serious accusations. Do you have any proof?" "No, that's why I lost the case." "And after you lost custody?" "Jessica started using drugs heavily again. She'd leave Emily with just anyone. One day, I went to pick up my daughter for our scheduled visit and found her locked at home alone while Jessica was hospitalized for an overdose." "And that's when you decided to take Emily?" "Yes. I couldn't leave my daughter in that situation. I took her and we disappeared." "How long ago was that?" 2.5 years. Dr. Richard finished his notes and looked thoughtful. "David, I'll be honest with you. It's a complicated case, but not impossible. The fact that the police haven't actively searched for you suggests Jessica may not have made much effort to find you." "What does that mean?" "It means she might have realized she wasn't fit to care for Emily. That could qualify as parental abandonment." Jennifer felt a wave of relief. "So there's hope?" "Yes, there is. But we'll need to investigate Jessica's current whereabouts. And we'll need to gather all possible evidence that Emily is being well cared for by David." "What kind of evidence?" "Medical reports showing she's healthy. A psychological evaluation. Proof she's receiving a proper education. Witnesses who can speak about the father-daughter relationship." "How long will this take?" "A few months, most likely. But in the meantime, you need to get off the streets. If someone reports a child in a vulnerable situation, they could take Emily before we even start the process." Jennifer stepped in. "They can stay at my place temporarily." "That would be ideal," agreed Dr. Richard. "And David, you'll need a formal job to show you can support Emily." "But I can't sign any employment records. If I register anywhere with my social security number, they might find me. That's why we'll speed up the legal process. The sooner we regularize your situation, the better. When they left the office, David looked visibly relieved but still uneasy. Jennifer, are you sure you want us at your place? He asked. Absolutely. In fact, it's not even up for discussion. You'll stay with me until we sort everything out. Dad, are we really going to live in a real house? Emily asked, having overheard part of the conversation. Yes, sweetheart, for a while. I'm so happy, she exclaimed. Will there be a private bathroom? Jennifer laughed, touched by the simplicity of the girl's wishes. There'll be a bathroom, a bedroom, a kitchen, everything you need. And books? Lots of books. Emily jumped for joy. David looked at Jennifer with gratitude. How can I ever thank you? By taking good care of Emily and trusting the process. I will. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now continuing. Jennifer's house was in the Upper West Side, on a quiet, tree-lined street. It was a large 2-story home with a front garden and a backyard. When they arrived, Emily's jaw dropped. You live here? She asked, amazed. This is where we're going to live, Jennifer corrected. For as long as needed. She gave them a tour. Upstairs there were 3 bedrooms, an office, a well-stocked library, a dining room, a spacious kitchen, and a cozy living room. This room here can be yours, Emily, said Jennifer, opening the door to a room decorated in light tones with a single bed, a desk, and a bookshelf. Just for me? Asked the girl, incredulous. Just for you. Emily ran to the window, which overlooked the backyard. Dad, come see. There are trees out here. David walked into the room and was moved by his daughter's happiness. And this room here is for you, David, Jennifer said, showing him the room next door. It was simple but comfortable, with a double bed, a wardrobe, and an armchair by the window. Jennifer, this is so much more than we deserve, he said, his voice thick with emotion. You deserve this and more. Now let's get your things settled. What things? David asked bitterly. We have nothing but the clothes on our backs. Jennifer had thought of that. This afternoon we'll go shopping. Clothes for both of you. School supplies for Emily, everything you need. Jennifer, you're already spending too much on us. David, stop that. Let me help without you feeling guilty. That afternoon, they went to the mall. Jennifer watched as Emily reacted to everything with fascination and gratitude, never asking for more than necessary. When they stopped at a bookstore, the girl's eyes lit up. Can I pick out a book? She asked shyly. You can pick out several, Jennifer replied. Emily chose a German-English dictionary, an English grammar book, and to everyone's surprise, a book on U.S. history. Why U.S. history? David asked. Because I can speak many languages, but I don't know much about my own country, she answered with surprising wisdom. Jennifer was moved by her response. Even as a child, Emily understood the importance of knowing her roots. When they got home, David helped Emily organize her new things in her room. Jennifer took the opportunity to call Amanda from the school. Amanda, just confirming, Emily starts on Monday. Confirmed. I'm eager to see how she adjusts. I'm sure she'll do very well. Jennifer, can I ask you a personal question? Of course. Why are you doing all this for them? Jennifer grew thoughtful. It was a question she'd asked herself many times. Honestly, I can't fully explain it. There's something about Emily that deeply moved me. Maybe it's her incredible talent being wasted, or maybe it's the bond between her and her father. But I feel I have to help. That's very kind of you. I hope everything works out. After dinner, Jennifer, David, and Emily sat in the living room. Emily had brought one of her new books and was reading quietly. David watched his daughter with a mix of love and worry. What's on your mind? Jennifer asked. I was thinking it's been 2 years since I've seen Emily this happy, he said softly. And that scares me. Scares you how? That all of this is temporary, that any minute someone will knock on the door and take her away from me. Jennifer understood his fear. After so much suffering, it was hard to believe good things could last. David, we'll do everything right. Dr. Richard is an excellent lawyer, and Emily will have everything she deserves. Dad, are you talking about me? Emily asked, looking up from her book. We're talking about the future, David replied. Our future will be good, won't it? She asked hopefully. Yes, sweetheart, it'll be very good. Emily smiled and returned to her book. Jennifer noticed David holding back tears. Want to talk outside? She suggested. They stepped into the backyard. It was a clear night with many stars visible. You know what's the hardest part of all this? David said. What? For 2 years I convinced myself I was doing the right thing. That getting Emily out of that situation was worth any sacrifice. But sometimes, seeing her so happy with simple things like having her own room, I wonder if I didn't deprive her of so much. You deprived her of living on the streets or being neglected by her mother. That's not deprivation, David. That's protection. But what if I'm wrong? What if Jessica has changed? What if she's desperately looking for Emily? Then Dr. Richard will find out in the investigation, and then you'll handle everything the right way. David stayed silent for a while, looking at the stars. Jennifer, can I tell you something I've never told anyone? Of course. Sometimes at night when Emily is asleep, I imagine what would happen if I died. Who would take care of her? Where would she go? Jennifer felt her heart tighten. David, don't think like that. It's hard not to. We're walking a tightrope. One mistake, one person recognizing us, and it could all be over. That's why we're doing everything right now, so you two can have a normal life. Normal? David repeated the word as if it was something impossible. It's been so long I don't even know what normal is. Jennifer looked through the window and saw Emily still reading, absorbed. You want to know what I think normal is? A 10-year-old girl being able to read a book in her own room, having a father who loves and cares for her, and getting the chance to go to a school where she can develop her talents. That's normal, David. And that's what you two will have. David looked at her with gratitude. How can you be so sure? Because I believe good people deserve good things, and you two are the best people I've ever known. When they went back inside, Emily had already finished the first chapter of the history book. Dad, did you know the United States was colonized by England, but also had Dutch, French, and Spanish influences in some regions? I did, sweetheart. It's so interesting how languages mix. I bet if I study history well, I'll understand the origins of words better. Jennifer smiled. Even in a history book, Emily found connections to her passion for languages. Emily, tomorrow's Sunday. How about we go out for a bit before you start school on Monday? Can we? Where can we go? Wherever you want. Emily thought for a moment. Can I choose the Museum of the English Language? David and Jennifer exchanged surprised glances. That museum actually exists? David asked. It does. It's at Grand Central Terminal. I think Emily will love it, Jennifer replied. Then it's settled. Tomorrow, we're going to the museum. That night, as Jennifer tidied the kitchen, she heard David telling Emily a story in her room. She quietly went upstairs and listened from the door. Once upon a time, there was a princess who spoke all the languages in the world, David narrated. She could talk to people from every country and befriend anyone. And was she happy? Emily asked. Very happy, because she discovered that when you speak someone else's language, you understand their heart better. Just like me, right, Dad? When I speak German with tourists, they get so happy. Just like you, sweetheart. You have a very special gift. Dad? Yes? I love you. I love you too, Emily. More than anything in the world. Jennifer went back downstairs with tears in her eyes. There was so much love in that family, so much care for each other, that it was impossible to imagine anyone wanting to separate them. On Sunday, they went to the Museum of the English Language. Emily was fascinated by the exhibits on the evolution of English, the influences of other languages, and regional dialects. Dad, look at this, she exclaimed, stopping in front of an exhibit on loanwords. The word shampoo comes from Hindi, and kilometer comes from Greek. Really? David pretended to be surprised, though as a linguistics professor he certainly knew this. And here it says that American English has over 200,000 words of native and African origin. Jennifer watched Emily's excitement with emotion. It was clear this child was born to study languages. "Emily, when you grow up, what do you want to be?" Jennifer asked. "I want to be a teacher like my dad, but I want to teach many languages to underprivileged kids so they can have more opportunities in life." David stopped walking and looked at his daughter with pride and emotion. "That's a beautiful goal, sweetheart. I've learned that when you can speak with different people, the world gets bigger, and I want other kids to have that chance too." Jennifer was impressed by the girl's maturity and generosity. On their way home, they stopped at a square to rest. Emily went to play at a nearby playground, leaving Jennifer and David alone. "She's incredible," Jennifer said. "She's my reason for living," David replied. "Everything I've done, every decision I've made has been for her. And they were the right decisions." "I hope so." Jennifer watched Emily playing and had a sudden thought. "David, can I ask you something very personal?" "Of course." "Are you sure Emily is your biological daughter?" David looked at her in shock. "Why would you ask that?" "It's just, she looks so different from you physically, and this exceptional talent for languages, it's very rare." David stayed silent for a long time. "Jennifer, there are things about Emily's past I've never told anyone." "What kind of things?" "Jessica. She had some relationships before we married. One was with a German professor who was on exchange at Columbia University." Jennifer felt a chill in her stomach. And when Emily was born, I always thought it was strange how easily she picked up German, but I never wanted to investigate." "Why not?" "Because I love her as if she were my biological child. To me, it doesn't matter. But it could matter legally." David stopped talking, clearly disturbed by this possibility. "What do you mean?" "I mean, if Emily isn't your biological daughter, and if Jessica can prove it, you could lose all legal rights to her." "No," David said desperately. "No matter what the DNA says. I raised that girl. I cared for her. I love her." "I know, David, but the law might not see it that way." David buried his face in his hands. "Jennifer, I can't lose Emily. She's all I have." "Take it easy. Let's talk to Dr. Richard about this. Maybe a DNA test won't be necessary." "And if it is, then we'll deal with that when the time comes." Emily came running back from the playground. "Why do you look so sad?" she asked. "We're not sad, sweetheart. Just talking about grown-up things," David said, forcing a smile. "I can help with grown-up things too. I understand a lot." Jennifer crouched down to her level. "We know you understand, Emily, but some things adults need to figure out first, then talk to you about, okay?" "Okay, but if you need me, I'm here." David hugged his daughter tightly. "I know, sweetheart. I know." That night, Jennifer called Dr. Richard and told him about the conversation with David. "Richard, does this change anything in the case?" "It could complicate things, yes. If it's proven David isn't the biological father, and if the mother claims he has no rights to the child, the situation becomes much harder." "But he raised her. Doesn't that count for anything?" "It does, especially if we can prove there was an informal adoption or that he's always acted as her father. And if the biological father comes forward, then things get very complicated. Depending on the circumstances, he might have rights over the child." Jennifer felt the world spin around her. "Richard, do you think we should do the DNA test?" "It's risky. If the result is negative for paternity, it could be used against David. But if we don't do it and someone else does, it could be worse." "What do you recommend?" "Let's first try to locate the child's mother. Depending on her situation, we might not even need to address the paternity question. What if she's dead? Then things become simpler for David. He'd be considered the sole guardian of the child." Jennifer hung up the phone with more questions than answers. She decided not to tell David anything for now to avoid making him more anxious. The next day, Emily woke up early, excited for her first day of school. Jennifer helped her get ready and made a special breakfast. "Nervous?" Jennifer asked. "A little, but more excited than nervous," Emily replied, eating a piece of toast. David came down to the kitchen already dressed to go out. "Where are you going?" Jennifer asked. "To look for work. I can't just sit around while you do everything for me." "David, remember you can't sign a work permit yet." "I know. But I can do freelance work, translations, private tutoring, something to help with expenses." Jennifer understood it was important for his dignity to contribute somehow. "All right, but be careful." "I will." David hugged Emily goodbye. "Have fun at school, sweetheart, and show everyone how smart you are." "I will, Dad." Jennifer took Emily to school. Amanda greeted them at the entrance and introduced Emily to her teacher, Mrs. Harrison. "So, you're the famous polyglot," Mrs. Harrison said, smiling. "I'm curious to see your talents." "Can I speak a little in German?" Emily asked shyly. "Of course." "Guten Morgen. Ich heiße Emily und ich freue mich sehr, hier zu sein. Ich hoffe, dass wir Freunde werden können." Mrs. Harrison was stunned. "That was perfect. What did you say?" "I said good morning, that my name is Emily, I'm very happy to be here, and I hope we can be friends." "Wonderful. And in English?" "Hello, everyone. I'm Emily, and I'm very excited to be part of this class. I hope we can learn many things together." "And French?" "Bonjour. Je suis Émilie, et je suis très heureuse de faire partie de cette école. J'espère que nous allons avoir beaucoup de plaisir ensemble." Mrs. Harrison looked at Jennifer in awe. "In 30 years of teaching, I've never seen anything like this." "Emily really is special," Jennifer agreed. When Jennifer left the school, she got a call from Dr. Richard. "Jennifer, I need to see you urgently." "What happened?" "I managed to locate Jessica." Jennifer's heart raced. "And? It's better we talk in person. Can you come to my office now?" "I'll be right there." In Dr. Richard's office, Jennifer found the lawyer with a grave expression. "Tell me everything," she said, sitting down. "Jessica has been in a rehab facility for 8 months. It's her 3rd stay in the last 2 years. Is that good or bad for David?" "It depends. On one hand, it proves she really struggles with drugs and isn't fit to care for the child. On the other, she's trying to get help." "Does she know where David and Emily are?" "Apparently not. I spoke with the clinic director, and he said she never mentioned looking for her daughter." "Does that mean she abandoned Emily?" "It could mean that. Or it could mean she knows her daughter is better off with her father and doesn't want to interfere." Jennifer was thoughtful. "What do you recommend?" "I think we should reach out to her." "How so?" "I'll explain the situation and see where she stands. Maybe she'll agree to give up custody permanently." "What if she doesn't accept it?" "Then we'll have to go through with the legal process. Richard, there's one more thing. There's a chance David might not be Emily's biological father." Dr. Richard stopped writing and looked at Jennifer. "Did he tell you that?" "He sort of hinted at it. Said his ex-wife had a relationship with a German man before they got married." "That changes everything." "For the worse?" "It could, yes. If David isn't the biological father, and the mother decides to fight for custody, he could lose all his rights. And if the biological father shows up, then the situation gets even more complicated." Jennifer felt a wave of despair. "Richard, I promised them everything would work out." "Jennifer, in family law, we can never promise anything. There are too many variables involved." "So what do we do?" "We take it step by step. First, I'll talk to Jessica. Depending on her reaction, we'll decide our next move. And in the meantime, David and Emily stay with you, and we hope for the best." Jennifer left Dr. Richard's office with a heavy heart. When she got home, she found David in the kitchen making lunch. "How was your day at work?" she asked. "I got 2 translation jobs. Doesn't pay much, but it's something," he replied proudly. "That's great. And how was Emily at school?" "She impressed everyone, just like we expected." David smiled, but Jennifer noticed he was anxious. "Jennifer, can I ask you something?" "Of course. Did you talk to Dr. Richard today?" Jennifer hesitated. She didn't want to lie, but she also didn't want to worry him unnecessarily. "I did." "And?" "He's looking into a few things. We'll have more information soon." David gave her a skeptical look. "Jennifer, if something's wrong, I'd rather know." Nothing's wrong. It's just the normal investigation process. David didn't seem convinced, but didn't push further. When Emily came home from school, she was beaming. "Dad! Jennifer! It was the best day of my life," she exclaimed, running to hug them. "Tell us everything," David said, smiling at his daughter's joy. "The teacher introduced me to the whole class. I spoke German, English, and French for my classmates. They were amazed. And did you like them?" "I loved them. There's a girl named Madison who also loves languages. She's learning Spanish. I told her I could help her." "How do you know Spanish?" Jennifer asked, surprised. "I learned by listening to the Mexican food vendors in the square," Emily replied, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. David and Jennifer exchanged glances, once again amazed by the girl's ability to learn. "And your classes, how were they?" "They were great. The English teacher said I could help other kids with grammar, and the math teacher was surprised when I solved some problems he thought would be hard." "Are you happy there?" David asked. "So happy. It's like I finally found where I belong." David hugged his daughter tightly, and Jennifer saw tears in his eyes. "Dad, why are you crying?" "I'm not crying, sweetheart. I'm just so proud of you." "I'm proud too. Proud to have a dad like you." Jennifer's heart ached. How could anyone want to separate this family? That night, after Emily went to bed, Jennifer told David about Dr. Richard's discovery. "So Jessica is in a clinic?" he asked. "Yes, for 8 months now." "And she hasn't been looking for Emily?" "Apparently not." David was silent for a long time. "That should make me feel better, but it doesn't." "Why not?" "Because I know Jessica. She might be pretending she doesn't care, but once she finds out Emily is doing well, in a good school, living in a nice house, she might want her back. And if she does, then I'll fight. No matter what happens, I won't let anyone take Emily away from me." Jennifer saw the determination in David's eyes and understood he was capable of anything to protect his daughter. "David, Dr. Richard wants to talk to Jessica." "What for?" "To see if she'll agree to give up custody permanently. And if she doesn't, then we'll have to go to court." David let out a heavy sigh. "Jennifer, I have something to confess." "What is it?" "I'm afraid of losing Emily, more afraid than I've ever been of anything in my life." "You won't lose her." "How can you be so sure?" "Because I see how much you love each other, and real love always wins in the end." David looked at her with gratitude. "Thank you for believing in us. I'll always believe." 3 days later, Dr. Richard called Jennifer with news. "Jennifer, I spoke with Jessica." "How did it go?" "Complicated. She wants to see her daughter." Jennifer's stomach twisted. "Did she say she'll fight for custody?" "Not exactly. She said she wants to talk to David and see how Emily is doing before making any decisions." "Is that good or bad?" "It could be good. If she sees Emily is well cared for and happy, she might agree to a settlement, but it could also be bad if she decides she wants her back." "What do you recommend?" "I think we should arrange a meeting, somewhere neutral, supervised." "Will David agree to that?" "He'll have to. If he refuses, it might look like he has something to hide." Jennifer knew she'd have to tell David, but she also knew how he'd react. When she got home, she found David helping Emily with her homework at the kitchen table. "How was school today, Emily?" Jennifer asked. "Great. My teacher said I can give a presentation on languages to other classes next week," the girl replied excitedly. "That's wonderful. And the gym teacher said I can join the school swim team. I've always wanted to learn how to swim." David smiled at his daughter's enthusiasm, but Jennifer saw the worry in his eyes. "Emily, why don't you finish your homework in your room? I need to talk to your dad about something." "Okay," she said, gathering her things. "Dad, will you help me with math later?" "Of course, sweetheart." When they were alone, Jennifer told David about Dr. Richard's call. David turned pale. "She wants to see Emily?" "She wants to talk to both of you. Dr. Richard thinks we should agree." "No," David said firmly. "I won't put Emily in that situation." "David, if you refuse, It might look like you're afraid of something. I'm afraid Jessica will manipulate Emily, make promises she can't keep, confuse her. Jennifer understood his fear, but knew they had no choice. Dr. Richard suggested a supervised meeting, somewhere neutral with him present. What if Jessica convinces Emily she wants to change, that she's better now? Then we'll have to deal with that. David stood and paced the kitchen. Jennifer, you don't understand. Jessica is very manipulative. She knows exactly what to say to get what she wants. But Emily isn't that little girl from 3 years ago. She's grown, matured. She knows who's been there for her all this time. You think so? I'm sure of it. David stopped pacing and looked at Jennifer. Fine. But I want to talk to Emily first. She needs to be prepared. How will you explain it to her? I'll tell her the truth, or at least part of it. That night after dinner, David asked to speak with Emily in her room. Sweetheart, I need to tell you something important. What is it, Dad? She asked, setting her book aside. Your mother. She didn't go away like I told you. She had some health issues and needed to stay in a special place for treatment. Emily looked at him seriously. Dad, I already knew that. David was surprised. How did you know? I remember some things. I remember Mom sleeping a lot, not waking up when I called her. I remember you getting worried. And I remember the day we left home and never went back. David felt his eyes fill with tears. Why did you never say anything? Because I realized you were protecting me, and because I trust you. David hugged his daughter tightly. Emily, your mother wants to see you. The girl pulled back slightly to look into her father's eyes. And you? Do you want me to see her? I'm scared, but maybe it's important for you. Dad, can I ask you something? Of course. Do you think Mom is better now? I don't know, sweetheart. I hope so. And if she is, do you think we can be a family again? David felt his heart shatter. How do you explain to a child that sometimes love isn't enough? Sweetheart, some things are too complicated for adults, but I promise you one thing. No matter what happens, I'll always be in your life. Always. Even if Mom wants me to live with her? Even then. Emily grew thoughtful. Dad, can I decide where I want to live? It depends. The adults will talk and decide what's best for you. But will you listen to my opinion? I'll always listen to your opinion. Okay then, I want to see Mom. David took a deep breath. Are you sure? Yes. But I want you to come with me. I'll be there, sweetheart. Always. The next day, Dr. Richard scheduled the meeting for the weekend in his office. Jennifer offered to go with them, but David said he preferred to go alone with Emily. Are you sure? Jennifer asked. Yes. It's something we need to handle as a family. And if you need support? Then I'll call you. On Friday, Emily was visibly nervous at school. Her teacher, Amanda, called Jennifer, concerned. Emily has been very quiet today. Did something happen? Jennifer briefly explained the situation. Poor thing, she must be emotionally shaken. It's a tough situation for a child. Jennifer, can I suggest something? Of course. How about I talk to the school psychologist? She could give you some guidance on how to handle this. That would be great. When Jennifer got home, she found David and Emily in the living room, talking quietly. How are you two? She asked. Nervous, Emily answered honestly, but ready. Amanda suggested the school psychologist talk to you, Emily. Would you like that? Psychologist? It's someone who helps kids understand their feelings. It might help, David said. I agree. Then I'll schedule it for Monday, after your meeting with your mum. On Saturday morning, David and Emily got ready to go to Dr. Richard's office. Jennifer drove them there and waited in the car. Good luck, she said, hugging them both. Thank you, David replied, for everything. Jennifer watched them enter the building and waited anxiously. 2 hours later, they came out. Emily was crying but didn't seem sad. David looked visibly shaken. How did it go? Jennifer asked as soon as they got in the car. Mum was different, Emily said, wiping her eyes. Thinner, with different hair. But she seemed calmer. And what did you talk about? She apologized, said she knew she'd done wrong and understood why Dad took me away. Jennifer glanced at David in the rearview mirror. He was staring out the window, lost in thought. What else did she say? She said she was proud to see how well I'm growing up, that the school is beautiful and that I seem really smart. She saw the school. Dr. Richard showed her some photos, explained David, finally speaking, and he told her about Emily's talents. And what was her reaction? She was impressed and David hesitated. And what? She said she doesn't want to take Emily away from a good life just to ease her own conscience. Jennifer felt a wave of relief. Does that mean? It means she'll sign the permanent custody transfer to me, David said, his voice choked up. Really? Really, Emily confirmed. But she asked for one thing. What? She wants to be able to see me sometimes, not to take me away, just to talk. Jennifer thought it was a reasonable request. And what do you think about that, Emily? I think it's fair. She's my mother, even with all her problems, and I think she's trying to do better. David turned to look at his daughter. Are you sure you want this? I am, but only if you agree too. If that's what you want, I'm okay with it. Jennifer was moved by Emily's maturity and David's generosity. So, is everything settled? Almost, David said. Dr. Richard still needs to prepare the legal paperwork, and there's one more thing. What? David glanced at Emily, who was distracted looking out the window. Jessica wants a DNA test. Jennifer's stomach twisted. Why? To be sure about Emily's biological father. And you agreed? I didn't have a choice. If I refused, she might back out of the agreement. Jennifer understood. It was risky but necessary. When will the test be? Next week. And if the result is... If it's negative for me, Jessica said she'll still honor the agreement, but she wants to know the truth. Jennifer hoped David was being honest about Jessica's stance. That night, after Emily went to bed, Jennifer and David talked about the possibility of a negative result. David, how would you feel if you found out you're not her biological father? Devastated, he admitted, but it wouldn't change how much I love her. And if her biological father shows up wanting rights, then I'll fight. Because a father isn't just the one who makes the child, it's the one who raises them. Jennifer admired his determination. Did Dr. Richard say anything about that possibility? He said legally I'd have rights as her emotional father, but he also said it would be a tough battle. Let's hope it doesn't come to that. Let's. On Monday, Emily went to school as usual, but David was visibly anxious waiting for the DNA test. Do you want me to go with you? Jennifer offered. No need, it's just a swab, then we wait for the results. How long will it take? A week. It would be the longest week of their lives. During that week, Jennifer noticed David was quieter than usual. Emily, on the other hand, was adjusting well to school and had already made friends. Jennifer, can I tell you a secret? Emily said one afternoon after school. Of course. There's a boy in my class who also lives with just his dad. His name's Nathan. His parents split up and his mum moved to another state. And I told him my situation is similar, that my dad takes care of me alone. What did he say? He said it's nice to have a dad who really cares, that some boys at school have dads who don't even pay attention to them. Jennifer was touched by the girl's perspective. Do you feel lucky to have your dad? Very lucky. Even with all the problems we've been through, I always knew he loved me. And that's what matters most. Yeah, that's why I don't really care about the test results. Jennifer was surprised. You know about the test? Yeah, Dad told me. He said it's just to confirm something the adults need to know. And how do you feel about it? I feel like no matter what the test says, Daddy will always be my dad. That child's wisdom never failed to amaze Jennifer. On Saturday, Dr. Richard called with the results. David, I need you to come to my office with Emily. Did the results come in? They did. Can you tell me over the phone? I'd prefer in person. David hung up with a pale face. That was Dr. Richard. He wants us to go there. Did he say anything? No, but his tone didn't sound good. Jennifer decided to go with them this time. In the office, Dr. Richard greeted them with a serious expression. "Please, have a seat." Emily held her father's hand. He was visibly nervous. "The test results were negative," Dr. Richard said, getting straight to the point. "David, you are not Emily's biological father." The silence in the office was deafening. Jennifer watched David close his eyes and take a deep breath. Emily looked at her father with concern. "Dad, are you okay?" David opened his eyes and looked at his daughter. "I'm fine, sweetheart. This doesn't change anything between us." "I know," she said simply. Dr. Richard continued. "But there's good news. Jessica kept her word. She'll still sign the custody transfer. She said the two of you are a real family, DNA or not." David felt relief. "And the biological father?" "Jessica gave me his name, Werner Weber, a German professor who was in the United States 10 years ago." Jennifer and David exchanged glances. It was the same name as the German man who had taught Emily in the square. "Dr. Richard," Jennifer said, "this Werner Weber, is he still in the United States?" "Why?" Emily spoke up. "A man named Mr. Weber taught me German in Union Square. He was German." Dr. Richard looked at them in surprise. "You think it might be the same person?" "It's possible," David said. "If it is, he knew who Emily was and never said a word." "Does that change anything legally?" Jennifer asked. "It could, if he knows he's the biological father and wants to assert his rights." "But he had the chance when he met Emily in the square," David pointed out. "If he didn't say anything, maybe he doesn't want to get involved." Dr. Richard grew thoughtful. "I'll look into whether it's the same person. In the meantime, let's proceed with the custody transfer." When they left the office, Emily seemed more curious than worried. "Dad, do you think Mr. Weber knew he was my father?" "I don't know, sweetheart. It's possible. If he knew, why didn't he say anything? Maybe because he saw you were happy with me, and that it was better not to complicate things. Or maybe he was afraid," Jennifer suggested. "Afraid of what?" "Afraid of taking on the responsibility of being a father. Not everyone is ready for that." Emily grew pensive. "Dad, if Mr. Weber really is my biological father, and he wants to get to know me, that's okay. But I want to keep living with you." David hugged his daughter tightly. "And I want to keep being your dad. Forever." Over the next week, Dr. Richard investigated and confirmed that Werner Weber, the German professor who had taught Emily, was indeed her biological father. But he discovered something else. Werner had returned to Germany 2 years ago and had never shown any interest in finding his daughter. "What does that mean?" David asked. "It means he likely doesn't want to be involved. Legally, that makes things easier for you." "What if he changes his mind?" "We'll cross that bridge when we come to it," Dr. Richard said. "For now, let's focus on finalizing your situation." 2 weeks later, Jessica officially signed the custody transfer. David was finally free to legally register Emily as his daughter and secure a formal job. "Jennifer, I did it," he said, coming home with the papers in hand. "The custody is mine, officially." "That's wonderful," Jennifer exclaimed, hugging him. "Emily came home from school just in time and found the two of them celebrating. What's going on?" "It turns out I'm officially your father now, said David, showing her the papers. "But you've always been my dad," she said, confused. "Now it's official. No one can separate us anymore." Emily beamed and hugged her father. "Can I change my last name to match yours?" "Of course, sweetheart." "Then now I'm Emily Sullivan." David and Jennifer laughed at her excitement. In the following months, the family's life settled into a routine. David got a job as a teacher at a language school and was saving up to rent an apartment. Emily continued to excel in school and had become something of a celebrity for her language skills. "Jennifer, I need to talk to you," David said one evening. "Of course, what is it?" "I've saved enough to rent an apartment. We can move out of your place." Jennifer felt a pang of sadness. She'd grown used to having them around. "You're no trouble at all. You can stay as long as you like." "Jennifer, you've already done so much for us. It's time we stood on our own." "I understand. But I'll miss you both terribly." "We'll miss you too. but you'll always be part of our family." Emily, who had overheard the conversation, came closer. "Jennifer, can you visit us anytime? And can we come see you too?" "Of course, sweetheart. And on holidays, can we have lunch together?" "Absolutely." David looked at Jennifer with gratitude. "Jennifer, I'll never be able to thank you enough." "You don't have to thank me. You've given me far more than I've given you." "What do you mean?" "You reminded me what truly matters in life. Love, family, taking care of one another." Over those months, Jennifer had realized how much richer her life had become with David and Emily in it. They'd filled a void she hadn't even known existed. On moving day, Jennifer helped carry their things to the apartment David had rented. It was small but cozy, in a neighborhood close to Emily's school. "Do you like it?" David asked proudly. "It's perfect, Dad," Emily said, running around the apartment. "Can I decorate my room?" "Of course you can." Jennifer watched their happiness and felt fulfilled. She'd helped build this family, and now they had a real home. 6 months later, Jennifer received a special invitation. "Jennifer, will you come to my graduation?" Emily asked over the phone. "What graduation?" "From the German course. The school enrolled me in an advanced program, and I'm graduating next week." "I wouldn't miss it for the world." At the ceremony, Jennifer swelled with pride as Emily received her German proficiency certificate. She was the youngest in her class by years. "I'm so proud of you," Jennifer said, hugging her. "Thank you for believing in me from day one." "I always knew you were special." David walked over, equally moved. "Jennifer, I have some news for you." "What is it?" "The school where I work wants to start a special program for gifted children, and they've asked me to lead it." "That's wonderful. And guess who the first student will be?" Jennifer looked at Emily, who was glowing. "Emily?" "That's right. She'll be able to study languages at a college level, even as a child." Jennifer was overcome with emotion. It was as if all the pieces had fallen perfectly into place. A year later, Emily was fluent in 7 languages and even teaching other students. David had been promoted to academic coordinator, and Jennifer had found a new family. "Jennifer, can I ask you something?" Emily said during one of their weekly visits. "Of course." "Have you ever thought about having kids?" Jennifer was surprised by the question. "Why do you want to know?" "Because you'd be a wonderful mother. You took care of us when we needed it most." Jennifer felt her eyes fill with tears. "Emily, you're like a child to me. You're my family. We feel the same way. You're like a second mother to me." David, who was in the kitchen preparing dinner, overheard the conversation and smiled. Jennifer had become an indispensable part of their lives. 2 years later, on a Sunday afternoon, Jennifer was at David and Emily's house when they had an unexpected visitor. Jessica was at the door. "Hi," she said shyly. "Can I come in?" David hesitated, but Emily stepped forward. "Of course, Mom. Come in." Jessica looked visibly different, healthier, more balanced. She had finished treatment and was working as a freelance translator. "How are you all?" she asked, glancing around the apartment. "We're good," David replied politely. "Emily, you've grown so much, and so smart. I heard you're teaching language classes now." "That's right. I teach German and English to younger kids." "I'm so proud of you." An awkward silence followed. Jennifer sensed Jessica had something important to say. "Jessica, what brings you here today?" she asked gently. I came to apologize. Truly. To all of you." David was surprised. "Apologize for what?" "For everything. For being a bad mother. For accusing you of things you never did. For forcing this whole situation." Emily moved closer to her mother. "Mom, you don't have to apologize. You were sick." "No, Emily. Being sick doesn't excuse the bad choices I made. David," she turned to him, "you saved our daughter. If she had stayed with me, she'd probably be in a terrible place right now." David didn't know what to say. "Jessica, let me finish. I want you to know you're the best father Emily could have. And Jennifer," she looked at Jennifer, "thank you for helping them when I couldn't." Jennifer was moved. "We've all just been trying to do what's best for Emily. And you did. Look at her. So happy, so accomplished. That's what matters. Jessica stayed for dinner, and for the first time in years, they talked like a family. Not a traditional one, but a family that worked. "Mum, can you come for dinner sometimes?" Emily asked. "If your father doesn't mind." David looked at his daughter, who was hopeful. "Of course, you'll always be welcome." From that day on, Jessica visited regularly, always respecting the boundaries and agreement they had made. Emily now had an extended family that worked well. David as the primary father, Jessica as a present but non-intrusive mother, and Jennifer as the loving godmother who had made it all possible. 3 years passed. Emily, now 15, was in an accelerated high school program and already planned to study linguistics in college. David had opened his own language school. Jennifer had become a business partner and educational consultant. "Jennifer, I have a confession to make," David said one afternoon. "What is it?" "When I first met you in the square, I thought you were just another rich person trying to ease their conscience. And now? Now I know you're the most generous, genuine person I've ever met. You completely changed our lives." "You changed mine too." "How?" "You taught me that family isn't just about blood. It's about choice, care, unconditional love." Emily, who had overheard the conversation, walked over. "Can I say something?" "Of course." "I think we met in the square because it was meant to be. Everything happened at the right time." Jennifer and David smiled. Emily's wisdom never failed to surprise them. "Why do you think that?" Jennifer asked. "Because if we had met earlier, maybe things wouldn't have worked out. Jennifer wasn't ready to be part of our family. Dad wasn't ready to accept help, and I wasn't ready to handle the whole situation. And now we're all ready. Now we're a real family. Not perfect, but true." David hugged the 2 most important women in his life. "You're my treasures." "We love you too," said Emily. "So much," added Jennifer. 5 years later, at Emily's high school graduation, she was chosen as the class speaker. Her speech was delivered in English, German, and French, representing her journey and her family's diversity. "I want to thank the 3 people who taught me that family is about love, not perfection," she said, looking at David, Jennifer, and Jessica in the audience. "My father taught me that protecting those we love sometimes requires huge sacrifices. Jennifer taught me that there are people willing to help without expecting anything in return. And my mother taught me that it's never too late to start over and do the right thing." There wasn't a dry eye in the crowd. "But more important than that," Emily continued, "they taught me that when we speak different languages, we understand that love is universal. No matter where it comes from, love always finds a way to communicate." David, Jennifer, and Jessica were crying with pride. After the ceremony, they gathered at home to celebrate. "Dad, Jennifer, Mum," Emily said, "I have an announcement." "What is it?" the 3 asked, almost at the same time. "I got a full scholarship to study linguistics at Columbia University, but more importantly, I want all 3 of you to be my guests of honor at graduation in 4 years." "Of course we'll be there," said David. "Wouldn't miss it for the world," Jennifer added. "I'll be in the front row," Jessica promised. Emily smiled brightly. "Then it's settled. In 4 years, we'll meet again to celebrate. But this time, as a family that chose to stay together. Not because we had to, but because we truly love each other." David looked around the table and remembered that day at Union Square, when a 10-year-old girl had surprised a businesswoman by speaking German. Who could have guessed that moment would change so many lives forever? "You know what's the most amazing thing about all this?" he said. "What?" the 3 women asked. Emily spoke German in the square because she wanted to communicate with the world. And in the end, she taught us that the best communication of all is love. Jennifer, Jessica, and Emily smiled in agreement. "To our crazy, wonderful family," Jennifer said, raising her glass. "To our family," everyone echoed, toasting. Outside, in the big, noisy city, other families were forming. Other stories were beginning. Other lives were intersecting. But there, in that small yet love-filled home, One family had found their happy ending, and it had all started with a girl speaking German in a square. The end. Now tell me what you thought of this story and where you're watching from. If you have something special to share, leave us an honest comment. Do you think David made the right decisions? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget to like and most importantly subscribe so you don't miss other heartwarming stories like this one.